Good evening. Chris Thimba with Champion Services.
My name is Ben Hess. I'm with the Mattingly Family Companies.
I'm Adrian Adornetto, a proud dad, and I am the owner of Adornetto's family of restaurants.
My name is Kong Kim, financial advisor and trust administrator for Century National Bank.
We're proud to be a gold sponsor of the 2020 Tribute to Fatherhood.
Mattingly Family Companies has always been a big supporter of ForeverDads because we believe in what they do.
Our culture, mission, and goals here at Century National Bank go hand in hand with the mission and goals of the ForeverDads organization.
What I love about being a dad is to watch two beautiful children and be a part of their lives, to grow up and see what the future holds for them.
Being a father is one of the most important jobs in the world.
Even before I had children, I've been excited about being a father because it allows me to continue to be a kid. It's one of the best things in the world.
My greatest responsibility is to be a great, loving husband to my beautiful wife, Kelsey, and to be a loving, caring, nurturing, and present dad to my children, Elijah, Landon, and Cora.
What I like even more is to be a kid myself, to be silly like Enzo there, and to learn about different things of their day and their school, to learn about Peppa Pig and Mickey Mouse.
Aside from being the best husband I can be, being a great father, or trying to be the best father I can be, is the next most important job in my life.
I believe fatherhood is extremely important to the community. If fatherhood is done properly, children get a much better chance in life.
I believe that because that is what I was taught and modeled by my own dad and my greatest hero.
Good evening. My name is Kong Kim, financial advisor, trust officer for Park National Bank. And on behalf of Park National Bank, we are proud to be gold sponsors for tonight's Tribute to Fatherhood event. We at Park National Bank believe very strongly in giving more, serving more to our community. And what better way of giving more and strengthening our community than celebrating the role of fatherhood for the families in our community. So without further ado, please, on behalf of Park National Bank, enjoy this evening, be inspired, and it is my honor and privilege, and please help me welcome the Master of Ceremonies for tonight's Tribute to Fatherhood banquet, Pastor Aaron Bounds. Have a great evening.
Welcome tonight to the Tribute to Fatherhood. We're so glad that you are here. And we've already been blessed this evening with the John Glenn Strings. Would you welcome them tonight and thank them and with a hand clap of appreciation? I do want to say this evening is a great evening of honoring fathers or dads. I heard a story recently, and it was that a bar of metal is worth about $5. But if you take a bar of metal and you make horseshoes out of it, it's worth $12. You take the same bar of metal and you make needles out of it, it's worth about $3,500. Take that same bar of metal and you make springs out of it and put it in watches, it's worth $300,000. It's not the value of the metal, it's the value of what comes out of the material. I would say tonight that that's what dads do to people. My father was full of stories, and I remember him saying things like, you know, the human body produces enough sulfur to rid one dog of fleas, enough iron to make 3 nails. He said enough nitrogen just to make 1 seed grow, and not even enough measure of electricity to bring any value to it, the value of the human body. But when dads get involved, somehow brings great value out of each and every one of us. And so thank you, dads, for investing in what's material worth less than $5. And I want all of our fathers, would you stand today? Every dad, every father in the building, would you stand to your feet? We honor you tonight. I do want to say that I have the honor and privilege to introduce you tonight to our honorees. We have 5 people that we're going to honor this evening representing great fatherhood. And ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome Tom Holdren and his wife, Susan, today? Thank you so much. We honor you tonight. Yes, sir. Tonight we honor Bob Mattingly, represented by his daughter Barbara Mattingly Callahan, and escort by his grandson Brandon Hess. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Absolutely. At this time, would you help me welcome tonight Irv Bell with his wife Jean. So glad you're here. Absolutely. So glad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Tonight, we want to honor Mike Zimba, represented by his grandson, Chris Zimba. Would you help me honor him tonight? I want to say what a great crowd here this evening. I mean, a lot more even this year than last year. And folks, it's my honor, and would you help me honor James McDonald with his wife, Lisa.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love
Yeah,
you too.
God bless you. Hopefully he'll be singing to us in just a little while. This tribute this is our 11th year. We have honored the last 10 years, and this class will be our 55th father that we have honored over the years. The class of 2012 was Bishop Frank McDonald, Ray Thomas, Coach Don Stahl, Coach Ron Apperson, and Coach Whit Parks. We want them to stand as we call their name if they're here. The class of 2013, Paul Law, Dr. Keith Brantley, Bill Phillips, Tom Nash, and Reverend Bill Mage. The class of 2014 was Bill Moyer, Daryl Cubison, Bobby O'Martin, Ron Horn, and Tom Quinn. Class of 2015 was Judge William Joseph, Bill Moore, Coach Fred Matthews, Richard McClellan, and Dr. James Burson. The class of 2016 was Don McKendry, Bill Straker, John Montgomery, Phil Newman, and Jack Downing. The class of 2017 was Robert C. Bumpus, Carol Fink, Bishop James Gators, Michael Lutz, and Hugh Maxwell. The class of 2018, Nick Sarup, Ed Bowman, James Adornetto, and Ron Spiker, and Raymond Wadaker. The class of 2019 was John Lepi, Russell Bolin, Bob Branford, Bill Balderson, and Ron Busey. The class of 2020, Tom Barone, J. Leo Burkhart, Milman H. Lynn III, Jerry Jackson, and Chuck Bell. The class of 2022 was Paul Culver, Mike Musselman, Gary Steele, Bob Glass, and John Matisic III. Would you help me honor all of these distinguished guests here tonight? We are live streaming tonight through WHIZ Media Group, sponsored by the Moyer Group, Wealth Management of Raymond James. We would like at this time the Honorable Mayor Jay Jackson of Byesville to come and lead us in prayer. He also is leading the Guernsey Dads Fatherhood Initiative in Guernsey County, and he's going to give the invocation at this time. Would you help me welcome him tonight?
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for bringing us all together on this special night to celebrate fatherhood. We thank you for those that prepared the meal that we're going to partake in this evening, and we are thankful and very blessed to be fathers to make an impact on young people's lives. Dear Heavenly Father, we also pray and hope that you guide us as we go along this journey of fatherhood and continue to bless us every day of our lives. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
At this time, they're going to serve each table, and may the Lord bless you as you enjoy the evening.
One of the benefits of being the executive director is you can just do about anything on certain days that your board members do not know you're doing it. Just make decisions and then hope that they go along with it, and then there comes a point where they may just decide to fire you. Well, you know what? We've got till tonight. A little over 10 years ago, ForeverDads hit a road bump. Somebody called it a heart attack in the road. We didn't have any money. We didn't know how we were going to make it. In fact, if Kim Dent over there, you'll remember we weren't funded by the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood. During the midnight hours, even though I submitted a grant, it didn't get approved. There were technical errors, and I can tell you right now, thank you to Kim Dent and her team, they made some decisions that were assuring that that would never happen again. Thank you, Kim, for doing that. But during that time, ForeverDads decided to create a message and a mission and words that came together that could just roll off your tongues. And one of those, and board members are supposed to memorize it, is that ForeverDads encourages, educates, and equips men to develop positive relationships with children, family, and community. And this evening, after over 10 years spending time in Spain as a missionary, she's back home to experience what she has helped us do. Sharon Graves, would you please stand and receive our thanks for what you've done for ForeverDads. She chose to go across the waters to make a difference while we continue to stay here. Sharon, we just thank you for that. And this year has been a phenomenal year. And you can see by this crowd, we have increased the attendance by over 100. And we thank you for supporting us. But it would be a mistake if I didn't acknowledge, and I'm sure I will fail, to people who are on our staff that are helping to make a difference. Chris Merlo, would you stand? Chris Merlo serves as our managing director. He has been leading our school-based programming, working with 5 public school districts, as well as Bishop Rosecrans, and getting ready to work with West Muskingum and other schools with our All Pro Dad programs, as well as overseeing our participant activities where we do services at Cedar Ridge, with New Hope, with Evolution in New Lexington, and I'm probably missing with Carn House. And Chris, thank you so much for your leadership and for what you do in making a difference and continuing to move this organization forward. Along with him is Lindsay Gee. Lindsay serves as our office manager. She's been battling parenting lately with being a mother of 2 children, but she's here with us tonight. And Lindsay, we appreciate what you're doing as office manager. Thank you for making a difference in our community. And she serves also as our community engagement coordinator. The other person that you may all be familiar with, if you aren't, you will be in time, and that's Janet Long. Janet, I don't know where you are in the house tonight, but Janet, if you would please stand. Janet serves as our client services navigator. I see Janet over here. And she, quite honestly, the guys just love her. And she engages with them, and she makes a difference. She makes them feel comfortable, and she makes them feel like a whole person. And we appreciate Janet for that. Jimmy Sullivan, where are you? Jimmy. Jimmy's the newest member of our team. Jimmy came on board with us through Allwell as an intern and working on his master's degree this fall, and we look forward to being a part of that plan. One of our members is not with us here tonight, is Ken Lambright, and Ken is in Hawaii. So, you know, it must be nice, right? But then we also have a board of directors, and that's not to exclude our in-step mentors. And so if you're one of our in-step mentors, before I go to the board, our in-step mentors are those individuals who volunteer to walk with these dads in some form of programming or life. Would all of our in-step mentors that are here tonight please stand? Our board of directors is led by our board president, Scott Comstock, chief of police, followed by our board vice president, Chris Zimba. Katie Brown is on our board, and she is not able to be here tonight because I think it's something like tax season or stuff like that going on. And next, after Katie Brown, is Don Riley. Don is our treasurer, board treasurer, keeps our finances, making sure we're true to that. Our forever immediate past president is Ben Hess. It seems like he's going to be on the board and stay on the board forever. Jennifer Reesbeck serves on our board. Along with Jennifer let me keep remembering now, because at age you start forgetting people. Doug Brock is here tonight. Doug, would you stand? Matt McMillian. Jamie Baker's not able to be with us this evening. Help me out, people. If you're a board member, stand up. Help this old man out here. There we go. Jason Newton, who is next month. Our board has made a decision to bring on a new executive member, and he will be president-elect of our board of directors. Who else am I missing? Casey Kelly. Casey is a brand new board member serving ForeverDads. Back in the back here is Crystal Reynolds. Crystal is one of our newest board members. And we have board members that recently exhausted, but these are the people who are ForeverDads. And then you're going to hear about other people who are ForeverDads, including this bay of men that have come that are part of our program. So stay tuned for what's left. Thank you for allowing me to indulge on you this evening, sharing with you these people who are making a difference in fathers and families.
I would like to extend a welcome to you on behalf of the 2023 Legacy Class for Tribute to Fatherhood. Congratulations to this year's class. What an amazing group of men. As you all begin your dinner here tonight, I'd like to draw your attention to a book that you'll find at your table. It's called Good Night, Construction Site. It's a wonderful book, and Zane State College is proud to sponsor this book. We understand that the beginning to any young person's educational journey is the ability to read. And there's really no better opportunity for a father to engage with their child than spending that time reading. This spring, my son will turn 20 years old, but I rarely missed an evening with him just with the opportunity to read. And it was a fun adventure because, while there are certain books we both remember, one of the interesting or fun things was as the books evolved, as he grew older, and we began to take turns reading and watched him grow. And the last book we read together was The Hobbit. And so it's really just, it's a meaningful part for me. And for the last 2 years, on Christmas Eve, we've always had a tradition of reading the night before Christmas. And it's been fun to watch him read it to us instead. So what an amazing way to engage, what an amazing way for us to connect with the community. And, childhood literacy is such an important part of what we do as educators, and it builds the foundation for the future. And so I invite you to take a look at this book, take one home with you. You're welcome to leave a donation in the envelope on the table, but that's not necessary. We have plenty of copies of books, so I hope you find a way to enjoy this with your children or grandchildren.
I think we ought to give some appreciation to Theo's Catering tonight and all these servers. Would you give them a hand of appreciation? They're doing a great job. If you would turn your attention to the screen, again, continue eating. This is not the end of the dinner. But turn your attention to the screen with our board president, Scott Comstock.
My name is Scott Comstock. I'm the board president at ForeverDads. It is my privilege to introduce this video which will be recognizing the volunteers that are this year's award recipients. In addition, it's also my honor to introduce our Executive Director, Burl Lemon.
Thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure to have you serve as our board president. Your leadership has made a significant difference in the work of Forever Dads. It's my privilege tonight to recognize those who have volunteered with Forever Dads. Stay tuned. Janet, today you're the recipient of the 2022 Service Above Self Award being presented to you in the honor of the individual of our multi-county region who has demonstrated the vision, energy, and selflessness to further the work and mission of Forever Dads. Lee Pye & Associates is a proud sponsor of this award to you, but I'm privileged to be able to give it to you. I remember back that evening when you were at the Tribute to Fatherhood, and you said, if there's a way I can volunteer, I want to. Fast forward, look where we are. Look at the lives of the fathers that you've been investing yourself in. They call you, they care about you, you care about them. And if there's ever someone who has served above themselves, you have definitely done that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I truly appreciate everyone for this award. And it is a privilege for me to come to Forever Dads every day and help make these men better fathers for their families. So thank you.
Congratulations, Janet, on receiving the 2022 Forever Dads Service Above Self Award. We teamed up with Forever Dads because we know the importance of demonstrating service in our community. Through your vision, your high energy, and your selflessness, you continue to make the community a better place. From Lee Pye & Associates and Forever Dads, congratulations.
Tom Bash, it's my privilege on behalf of Forever Dads and All Well, who is the sponsor of this 2022 Directors Award, to you and Painters Plus, in recognition of the leadership of an organization which has demonstrated strong partnership support through their resources and influence to the furtherance of the work and mission of Forever Dads. And unequivocally, you've been there at every turn when we call on you to get your help or your assistance, your influence, and different things that have to do with our building and people you know, and it just makes a difference in how our organization can go to the future. And so thank you for doing that, and it's our privilege to award you this Director's Award.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Burl and the Forever Dads organization just to allow me to participate in a fine organization. This is a grand organization. I would say that I started coming here about 7 years ago, approximately. Learned about different programs, how this program fills the needs of this community, which is a huge void, not in this community, but probably worldwide in the United States. It's just a great honor to be part of the journey that Forever Dads has set forth in this community. And I really hope to continue my involvement in volunteering and helping out with the needs and the direction of your organization from this day forward and on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Allwell is proud to be the sponsor of the 2022 Directors Award. Congratulations to Tom Bash on being the recipient of this award. Allwell has partnered with Forever Dads since its founding to work to make the mission of Forever Dads that stronger families do make stronger communities become a reality. Allwell and Forever Dads continue to work together to give fathers and families opportunities to grow. Congratulations, Tom Bash, on being the recipient of the Directors Award.
It's my privilege on behalf of Forever Dads Board of Directors to present to you the 2022 President's Award. Luann Cooperrider, in recognition of a board member who has best demonstrated diligence in the vision of Forever Dads and has personally and professionally demonstrated strong leadership to our success. The work you have done in Perry County to bridge us to this community and the work of Forever Dads and what we're doing with fathers and families, with moms and children, has been phenomenal. We thank you for your service, for your tenure of duty, but also Scott Comstock, our board president, wanted to make sure you were fully recognized. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a really honor to me to be on this board and helping the kids and families of Perry County. I fully support the mission of Forever Dads and always will. Thank you.
My name's Kevin Jones. I'm happy to sponsor the President's Award this year. honoring Judge Luann Cooper-Ryder. Why do we support Forever Dads? I'm a dad myself. I'm an employer. I've got mostly young men that work in my construction business, but I'm also a coach, and I teach a class and to sixth graders about character. And right now, what I'm hearing from these kids in this character building class is that who's the most influential person in their life? Who's a responsible person in their life? And so many of them are raising their hands and saying mom or dad, but the one that really hits home for me is dad. And you can also tell the kids that aren't receiving that investment at home from mom or dad, and they're struggling. So I see it in my business. I see it when I coach. I see it when I teach. The influence of family and good, strong dads to invest in their kids is so needed right now in today's society. I believe in it. I try to pursue that, and anyone who's helping to support the efforts of that mission is worthy of recognition in my book. So again, we're honored to be part of this and to support anyone who's supporting it, and someone as great as Judge Luann. We're appreciative and we thank her and happy to help.
Josh, on behalf of Forever Dad, it's my privilege to award to you the 2022 Ron Apperson All-Pro Dad Award. This is given to the community individual who has demonstrated the greatest example of support to our father-engaging programs, activities, and events, which has assisted Forever Dads towards abolishing father absence and restoring men as healthy parents for their children. Homemaster Renovation has chosen to sponsor this award, believing in what we're doing as an organization, but we believe in what you've been doing out there on the footprints of men's lives, as you walked with them, mentored them, and as we looked at you and thought about who best represents that All-Pro Dad. You're that guy, because you've reached over this past several years as a mentor. You've mentored 6 men I know of, and you continue to reach into their lives and made a difference. And we thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate what Forever Dads is doing in the community. I love the work that we do here. I love the guys that we work with, and so thankful for this. I'm honored and just want to wish the Lord's blessing on the work here.
Congratulations, Josh, on receiving the 2022 Ron Apperson All-Pro Dads Award. As a sponsor, Homemaster Innovations, and on behalf of Forever Dads, we want to congratulate you on receiving this award and mentoring the fathers to become better men, because the time that you have given and it's taken you away from your family is much appreciated by not only Forever Dads, but also the community. As Homemaster Innovations, we build and remodel homes. We'd like to think that we're also building and establishing better fathers as we're doing this by introducing folks like you out there in the community. But the community is a better place with folks like you. And again, we appreciate all the work you do, mentoring the young men that you mentor, and thank you.
Joe, it's my privilege on behalf of the Forever Dads Board of Directors to present to you the 2022 Pay It Forward Award. It's an honor of the individual who passionately served in the present with clear vision for the future, expanding and empowering the work and mission of Forever Dads. And what you're doing with Project Ready, leading this reentry coalition in 3 counties, moving it forward, looking back in the days when James and I were looking at reentry and how we were going to make this happen. And today you are solidifying it here in the very near future, becoming its own 501c3. You've made a dream come true and allowed Forever Dads to be a part of that. Thank you for being a part of our great work.
Well, thank you very much, Burl. It's been a privilege to be able to do this kind of work here in Muskingum County, and now getting into Perry County where I grew up. and Morgan County as well. I just want to thank everybody, all the community partners. Their support's been fantastic. Forever Dads and All Well and Mental Health Board and local law enforcement, Sheriff's Office, and it's been wonderful to be able to do this and help people when they're coming back to.
They support what they believe in.
Yeah.
And you definitely have demonstrated that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. The Community Bank is proud of our relationship with Forever Dads, and we are proud to be a sponsor of the Pay It Forward Award. And we're glad to present this year's award to Joe Frash. Congratulations, Joe.
Congratulations to all of our award recipients. Your work and dedication is greatly appreciated.
He was our board president when I was a board member, and was a true visionary leader. Also, he is the chairman of our Make It Happen Now committee. He's going to be introducing today the Footsteps of Fatherhood donor recognition, and that's Ben Hess. Would you turn your attention to the screen, please?
Good evening. My name is Ben Hess, and I'm chair of the Make It Happen Now committee, which is kind of the financial arm of Forever Dads, which is responsible for putting this night together. Tonight, we want to thank and recognize Marion Busey for putting this wonderful picture together, which we offer as a token of appreciation to our donors who give $5,000 or more.
Well, Ben, I can tell you that the moment that I painted this, I created it in the image of my grandson, Owen, and his dad, Michael, and this gentleman that's off in the distance, the next generation. James McDonald always said that looked like his dad, Elder Frank McDonald. But I was so pleased that Burl and James had asked me to do that. And now that I count up how many people in our area have been affected by the Forever Dads, I counted over 25,000. Did you know that? 25,000 people have been affected by Forever Dads and their programs. That's a big number.
Well, on behalf of Forever Dads and the Make It Happen Now committee, we say thank you very much. This is such an amazing picture, and it's encapsulates all that Forever Dads is about. We thank you for putting this together for us, being a part of Forever Dads.
Thank you.
Brian, it wouldn't be possible for Forever Dads to reach into the lives of families if it weren't for the support of Dollar General and Pro Literacy and the grant that we've received from that foundation. We've been able to serve and do working of literacy in 7 different schools here in our community. And today we wanted to present to you the Footsteps of Fatherhood, because we believe that pathway of generational literacy and also legacy makes a difference in the lives of fathers and families. So on behalf of Forever Dads, the board of directors, we appreciate Dollar General for all that you've done to help our community and to help Forever Dads be able to serve as we have.
Thank you, bro. Well, Dollar General, as you all know, is pretty much nationwide. It's deep. It's all over the country. And like Forever Dads, we want to make deep roots in our local communities. So, we appreciate what you do, and we will continue to help you as long as we can. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. On behalf of Forever Dads Board of Directors, it's my privilege to present to you the Footsteps of Fatherhood. This was painted by Marion Busey. It was done to promote the idea of legacy, generational fathering, the fact that dads lead the way for other children to follow. We appreciate your support, and during a most crucial time, back when COVID was happening, you guys, Walmart North, Walmart South, Sam's Club came through. The Walmart Community Foundation chose to support us and help us to be able to buy the equipment we needed so that we could now transmit through Zoom our programming. And it's amazing how we continued to serve the fathers in our program during these most crucial times. For that, we are truly indebted to you for your contribution and your support.
That's awesome. It's great to be able to give back to the community that we work and live in, and Forever Dads is just such a great program, and we're lucky that the community even has it and has you here, and making better dads and a better community, and giving children a chance to grow up happy and productive people in the community. So it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an honor and a privilege on behalf of us to be able to donate to such a program. Forever Dads is a staple for the community, but also for our employees as well.
So we're definitely privileged to be part of that, and we're going to continue to be part of that forever, just like Forever Dads.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my honor to award this to Sheriff Matt Lutz. This is the Footsteps of Fatherhood. It is a recognition given to our most major contributions, and on behalf of Sheriff Lutz's contribution to Forever Dads, it was what allowed us to facilitate bringing on the Project Ready initiative, and I want to give you this and thank you.
Well, thank you, Scott. On behalf of the Sheriff's Office, it's an honor to receive this. We were very fortunate we were able to donate to Forever Dads. We're a big supporter of them, and we look forward to our relationship with them in the future.
Brian, on behalf of Forever Dads Board of Directors, it's my privilege to present to you the Footsteps of Fatherhood. This painting was done by Mary Ann Busey, and the whole idea behind this was to promote the whole concept of legacy. Muskegon County Community Foundation has been a part of that to support Forever Dads, and how you've done that through those donors and the community people who come along. Not only that, but you now house the Forever Dads Legacy Endowment Fund. Mm-hmm. We are at $60,000, and our goal is to break $50,000 more at this tribute this year, and we are privileged to be able to partner with you to make that happen. Thank you for supporting us.
Well, Burrow, we're happy to support, and legacy is something that we believe very strongly at the Community Foundation. And one of the things we talk about is legacy forward. And this endowment that you're building is going to be building that legacy forward for future fathers and their sons and daughters to be together to make sure that they can have the life that they deserve to live. And it is built on the legacy of those that have come before us, who have decided that they want to make that investment and make sure that their legacy is secured both forward and remembered for those in the past. So thank you on behalf of the Community Foundation for the work that you do in our community.
We appreciate you.
Burl and Brenda, on behalf of Forever Dads, we offer this picture to you as a token of our appreciation for your generous donations you've made to Forever Dads over the years. Thank you so very much.
Ben, it's been a privilege for us to serve, but also to give. We can't ask others to give if we're not willing to do it ourselves. So thank you for allowing us that opportunity.
Well, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for your financial and personal commitments to Forever Dads over the last so many years. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We have a couple additional donors to recognize, and we want to honor Sam's Club of Zanesville, and who's represented by Cat Bird. We'd like them to stand, if they would. Let's thank them for their also Millman H. and Lynn. We would like them to stand, and at this time we want to honor them and recognize them right now. Right here. We appreciate what everybody does. I want to say it's good to have my wife with me tonight. Last year we were married 20 years. And I'll never forget, while we were dating, she came up to see my brother. When I walked in my brother's house, you have to know my brother David, he's pretty funny, but he was sitting on the floor and his little girl was sitting beside him. My brother had the pacifier in his mouth, blanket over his shoulder, and a baby doll at his feet. And my brother was a pretty strong guy, growing up. And I walked in, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I used to be so cool," he said, sitting there with his little girl. Well, 20 years later, I'm at his house, and around 20 years later, I'm at his house, and he said, "Aaron, I got something to tell you." And you have to remind you that he's 44 years old at the time, and he said, "We just found out Joan's pregnant." And so there is 20 years between his oldest daughter and his youngest daughter. I said, "David, you're having your own grandkids." And so I was with him this past weekend, and he said, "You're not going to believe what happened." And his youngest girl is named Sadie. And I said, "What?" He said, "She's a little grumpy in the mornings. And by the way, Sadie, who is now 3, rules the house." And he said, "I went in, and she was fussing a little bit." He said, "I just flexed at her like this." And her 3-year-old sassy self, she said, "You know, Giant, you just my dad." Nothing like these kids. Tonight we get to do the unveiling of the Legacy of Fatherhood montage, which is something we've done This is our 11th year. And the one that has created that is Maggie Vaught, and she is here tonight, and I would like her to stand. Would you stand, Maggie? Right here in the middle. Would you help me honor her? Kim Dent, the executive director of the Ohio Commission of Fatherhood, has been a blessing to Forever Dads. And I think it would be great if we stood and honored this public servant, this wonderful lady. She has done so much for this organization. I'm telling you, would you honor her today as she comes? We're so glad that she is here. Would you come at this time? Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. What an absolute honor to be here again. I think, what was it, 10, 12 of these? How many?
This is the 11th.
11th. And I think I may have missed 2. And I think one was with the governor shut down because of COVID, and Burl was still trying to get me to come. And the other thing he didn't mention was when the Forever Dads was not funded, I had to spend 2 days here. So he invited me to Zanesville, and I just fell in love. You all have the blueprint as to what a community looks like in supporting fathers and families. So applause to all of you. Now, as Mr. Lemon had mentioned, I don't do this alone. I have an amazing staff. How many staff do you all think I have to support fatherhood in the whole state of Ohio? How many staff? How many? 3? 5? 12? Yeah, that's a good number. I would love to have 12 staff. But at this time, it's myself and 2 other amazing people, and I would like for them to stand because they are here tonight. So Josh and Terry, I know you're somewhere in this area. There you are, okay. So Josh is the project manager of operations. He does everything operations for the commission. And Terry is our admin professional, and I am actually hiring our program administrator 3 at this time. So please pray for us that we do pick the right person to join our little small team, mighty team, although a small team. I also brought my little notebook up here because I'm going to tell you, like Burl, you give me a microphone and you ask me to talk about fatherhood, we'll be here pretty late. And I don't want to do that because I want to ensure that we focus on why we are here tonight, which is to honor the fathers and families in Zanesville, in Muskingum County. The other thing I wanted to mention was because of Forever Dads, and again, thank you so much for your stellar applications that you always send in. And I really would like to, at some point, Burl, add up all of the funding that came from the commission because it went to some amazing programming. Not only is Forever Dads funding and serving fathers in Muskingum, they're in Morgan and Perry County as well. Judge Cooper Ryder, I want to thank you personally for all of your support, and we look forward to the community conversations that are coming up. I'm not sure when Muskingum's is, Burl. Do you have that date yet? You don't have it yet, but we look forward to attending. Mayor, thank you. I think, yeah, there you are. Thank you for inviting us. Terry, I think, attended your community conversation in Guernsey. So again, it's about the community supporting fathers and families in Ohio. I also want to publicly thank Governor DeWine. He has more than doubled the budget for the next 2 years for the Commission on Fatherhood. So please applause. You know, it's because of the services that our fatherhood programs do provide to fathers and families, and the data collection. Yes, we are data collectors, we are government, so we do have to show return on investment. But because of the data that we were able to take back to our General Assembly, and Representative Holmes, we look forward to connecting with you as well going forward. Hopefully you'll have a seat on the commission too. But we take our data back to our purse string holders, the governor's office, the General Assembly, to say, hey, when you give us these dollars in fatherhood, this is what we do. This is what we save taxpayers. This is what we do for children. We all know that the data is very clear that when a father is healthy and responsible and engaged in his child's life, poverty goes down by 4 times. Infant mortality goes down by 2 times. Teen pregnancy goes down by 7 times. And so when you have a community that is in the trenches of supporting fathers and families in their community, our kiddos will perform off the charts, I promise you. I promise you that. So again, I thank you so much for the invitation. I thank you for allowing me to be Vanna White every year and do the unveiling of the artwork. And again, we look forward to our continued partnership, collaboration with ForeverDads, and more information to come regarding the future funding of our programs in Ohio. So thank you again so much for your attention this evening, and let's get to the great part of this award, which is honoring our fathers, celebrating our dads. Congratulations to all of you.
Burl, why don't you come up here and be a part of this unveiling of this montage of this class that we're honoring today. Looks amazing.
That is amazing.
That's amazing. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Folks, this is a class of 2023. We're going to honor them. Would you give another hand of appreciation here? We're going to be blessed right now with singing by Eliza Jane Morrow. She's going to sing Daddy's Hands. Would you welcome her?
Daddy's hands folded silently in prayer and reaching out to hold me when I had a nightmare. You could read quite a story in the calluses and lines. Years of work and worry have left their mark behind. I remember Daddy's hands, how they held my mama tight and patted my back for something done right. There were things that I'd forgotten that I loved about the man, but I'll always remember the love in Daddy's hands. Daddy's hands are soft and kind when I was crying. Daddy's hands were hard as steel when I'd done wrong. Daddy's hands weren't always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands. I remember Daddy's hands working till they bled, sacrificed unselfishly just to keep us all fed. If I could do things over, I'd live my life again, and I'll never never take for granted the love in Daddy's hands. Daddy's hands were soft and kind when I was crying. Daddy's hands were hard as steel when I'd done wrong. Daddy's hands weren't always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands. Daddy's hands were soft and kind when I was crying. Daddy's hands were hard as steel when I'd done wrong. Daddy's hands weren't always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands.
Beautiful. Great job, Eliza. At this time, it's what we're here for tonight, to honor these 5 nominees. There's going to be a video that's going to play about them, and following that, they're going to come and receive this recognition. Please turn your attention to the screen.
Good evening. I'm Rick Sabine of the WHIZ Media Group and host of the Highway 103 WZVL Morning Show. Forever Dads is an organization that celebrates and strengthens fatherhood. Every home needs a strong dad, and every family benefits from the contributions of a good father. Tonight, we honor 5 men who were good dads and good community members. Our first honoree tonight is Thomas E. Holdren, Jr. He was born April 16, 1948. He is the oldest of Thomas E. Holdren Sr. and Ruth Lutz Holdren's 6 children. Tom's father completed the 8th grade, his mother the 10th, making Tom the first to graduate from high school in his family. Tom graduated from Jefferson High School in the last class to do so before the Tri-Valley School District was created the following year. Following high school graduation, Tom obtained a position on the Zanesville Police Department as a dispatcher, working there for about a year. He then enlisted in the Air National Guard. In 1973, Tom began his law enforcement career as a patrolman at the Zanesville Police Department. Although Tom has a graduate degree from Ohio University, he is most proud of his associate degree earned from MATC, having slept many times in his car in the college parking lot in order to go to school while he was working as a police officer. Tom became a father with his first 2 children, Tommy and Sarah, through the miracle of adoption, and his second 2 children, Sam and Laura, through the miracle of family blending. Tom is proud to say each of his children and their spouses have graduate degrees. Tom and his wife Susan have 6 grandchildren.
Hello. I am honored that I get to share a little bit about Tom Holdren with you. He was the board president of Eastside Community Ministry when I was going through the hiring process for my position as the director here at Eastside. And I had the pleasure of meeting with Tom at my first interview, and then several occasions after that to just talk and get to know each other. And Tom has such a peaceful presence, and it's hard to be nervous around him because he just is such a generous and kind man. I just don't even know if they still make him like Tom anymore. He has always been so supportive of me, and every time that I've had a question or a problem, no matter how busy he is, even if he's out of town, he will take the time to call me, and as soon as he gets back in town, he schedules a time to sit down with me, whether that be a breakfast at Bob Evans or lunch. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that Tom has been in my life.
Just a really super nice guy, a guy that gives you everything that you'd ever ask for, willing to talk to you at any time. And as we would say in law enforcement, it's the fountain of information when it comes to life in law enforcement. Tom was very instrumental in not only my career, but many officers with the Zanesville Police Department and the Sheriff's Office through his teaching at the school.
More like sometimes like a big brother figure to me. Also kind of like a second dad in a lot of ways, where I can ask him for a lot of advice and wisdom and bounce different things off of him. So that's how I got to know Tom.
Yeah, Tom was just a very confident person. He always had time for you to talk to you about whatever it was that you wanted to talk about. Always made himself available. Always gave you a very good perspective of not only the career but life. The great thing about him as a teacher was that he had the experience working as a Zanesville police officer. So he really could get down on your level to speak with you. And as his teaching went along, and you had those assignments and those lessons that you were working on, he could take his experiences and really translate them into how things actually were on the street and not just in a classroom. Yeah, I think as I said, I think his experiences that he was able to teach you were just valuable. I think as it was instilled in me at a very young age from both him and my father, was Tom gave you the impression to treat people how you'd want to be treated. Never do anything or never ask of anything from somebody that you wouldn't do yourself. Just kind of those rules about life and how to treat people with respect. I think Tom, listening to the stories about him being a police officer, was that he got respect on the street, and a lot of that was because of the respect that he showed to the citizens of the city. So I think that was the same thing for us in the criminal justice program. We knew you could go to Tom, you could ask any kind of questions, and Tom was going to give you an honest answer.
And very recently, this year, midsummer, I was really leaning on him. I was going through some different trials and tribulations of life and with my career, and decided to call my old buddy Tom to bounce a few things off of him, and most definitely gave me a lot of good wisdom to reflect upon, and truly did help me in some decision making that I needed to make. And lots of times there's been numerous times where I've asked him for different words of wisdom, and he's always led me right.
Hello. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I want to thank Burl and ForeverDads, and I want to thank my good friend Ron Busey, who suggested that my name be added to this list. It is truly a pleasure and a very distinctive honor for me to be in the class of 2023. I'm not going to talk very long because Irv Bell asked me for 30 minutes of my time. So this won't take very long. A long time ago, one of my doctors told me that I would never be able to have children naturally, and he was right. So we got on the list for adoption, and 5 years, 6 months later, we received our first child, Tommy, who's right there at our family table. Tommy is an assistant superintendent down in Marysville school system. We signed up immediately for another baby, and that one only took 12 years, 2 months, and 20 days. We were given our baby Sarah. Sarah is she's in her 4th year of medical school. She's in Asheville, North Carolina. So I did become a father, and it was through what I think of as the miracle of adoption. And then Susan and I were married, and I gained 2 more children, Laura and Sam. Sam is a petroleum geologist in Houston, and our girl Laura is chief, let me get her title right, Chief Deputy for the North Carolina Attorney General's office. Josh Stein is a great guy. She works for him. You'll be hearing more about Josh as his career continues to progress. It took a lot of prayers to make our family come about. And, I remember, and I will always remember, we picked up Tommy at a wonderful foster home in a place called Lithopolis, Ohio. Many of you have not heard of that. It's a suburb of Columbus. A beautiful family, had a couple of dozen foster babies, had done a wonderful job with him. We picked him up. He came over. His name that they called him was Brandon. And he came over and they told him that I was going to be his daddy. And he put his hand on my knee and said, "Daddy." So I cried. Just give me a second, Irv, I'll be out of here. I cried all the way home. I can be an emotional slob, as you can see. Those many years later, when we went to pick up Sarah, it was at an office in Columbus, and I cried all the way home. And this was still before car seats, and I know it was before car seats for Tommy. I may have sneaked Sarah onto my lap anyway, but those were the things we did in those days. I would just like to say that being a father is so special. If you're going to be a good father, you have to have a good mother and a good life partner with you, and my wife Susan has certainly been that. I would just ask your help in one way. I think this is the happiest time of my life. Our children are grown, they're successful. We have 6 grandchildren, and I know how you all feel about ours, but I really think ours are the most beautiful in the world. And I cannot get enough of them. I simply cannot. And you could help me if you can encourage my wife to let me have a dog. Honey, would you stand up? And I think if you see her on the way out, just give her a thumbs up. Say, let the boy have a dog. The last thing I'll say to you this evening is yesterday, today, and forever, family first. Thank you.
Tremendous. I say he gets the dog. How about you? Focus on the screen, please. Thank you.
Our next nominee is Robert K. Bob Mattingly, born March 12, 1921 in Zanesville, the youngest of 3 children to John and Olivia Mattingly. He attended and graduated from St. Thomas High School in Zanesville. Bob married his high school sweetheart, Betty Allen, 2 days after Christmas in 1941. Soon after, Bob enlisted in the U.S. Army, where he served as a lieutenant in the Infantry Division. After serving in the Army, Bob returned to Zanesville, and his entrepreneurial spirit found him in numerous occupations. Eventually, Bob and Betty took over the family fish market located on Market Street and founded Mattingly Seafood in 1947. The 1960s brought even more excitement as Bob and Betty relocated the business again, this time to its current location on State Street. They renamed the business to Mattingly Foods Incorporated and welcomed their only child, Barbara, into the business. Along with his passion for business, Bob shared the same passion for his family. His daughter and 4 grandchildren were always a part of his life. January 1995 would prove to be one of Bob's toughest tests as he suffered a cardiac arrest episode while attending the food show in Las Vegas. Doctors told the family that he would never make it back alive. Not only did he make it back to Zanesville, he proudly got to see his 3 grandsons graduate college and join the family business.
Mr. Mattingly, you won't find any detractors of Mr. Mattingly. He was loved by all. He was a outgoing, friendly, happy man, and never met a stranger. And when he met you, he wanted to know everything about you.
So to many, he was Mr. Mattingly. The employees, usually from the warehouse and the drivers, he was boss. They called him boss. Hey, boss.
My favorite memory of Bob was probably the first time I ever met him. And it proved to be that he was that way always. And I met him for the first time in 1968 when I was working for Carnation Company. And Mattingly Foods was one of my customers, and I had never been there. I walked in and I met him and he was standing on the area where they receive, on a dock where they receive their food and goods. And wow, he shook my hand and introduced himself and said he was the owner, but he was always working. He was working on the dock back in those days, and he was a working man.
He was the absolute nicest man. He was just awesome, super to everyone.
So I took a leave of absence, and I actually worked at the hospital here, Good Samaritan. And my dad said to me one day, well, you've watched people die, come to work for me and watch people live. And I thought, Dad, I like people. I don't want to be a secretary, so I don't know what I can do for you. He said, come into sales. And it's funny to even think about it, but there were no women in sales. I mean, it was a man's world. And I said, sure, I'll try it. And he had several big clients, and he helped me to build my business. And it was really unusual to be a woman salesperson. But he gave me confidence, he gave me knowledge, he gave me his support.
Bob was my grandfather. Wow, where do I start? He was a successful businessman here in Zanesville. Started a very small fish market into what turned into a major food distribution company. That speaks professionally, that's what he did. But as a grandfather, he was an amazing grandfather. My mom was an only child, so I've got two other brothers and a much younger sister, so she wasn't around as much. He passed away, I think, when she was probably 10 or less, so she didn't get to experience it. So the point I'm getting at is, so he treated kind of the three of us as, extended almost his own sons. So, all the things he did, whether it was to talk to us about business or life itself, he took us on vacations.
And I just, the one thing I can tell you that we always get a kick out of him, he wore some of the most outrageous suits to work sometimes. I mean, you would just go, oh my gosh, and the pants and the sport coats, and they were hilarious. But that was him. He was really a fancy dresser and really dressed like, but there were sometimes he wore these outrageous things, and we just always got a big kick out of it.
My grandpa, he was a great mentor, not only to us, but really to a lot of people. He led by example, kind man, had a lot of friends. I don't think he had many enemies, if any. Traits, he was a hardworking guy. He held multiple jobs as a young man. He wasn't afraid of a challenge. He was always involved in the community, giving back, whether it was with the baseball teams, the local baseball teams, Goodwill, church. He served his church for as many years as I can remember as an usher. He just, people came to him with problems, and he was a good problem solver.
Bob was a very giving person. He was a man that when you went in the morning, his car was there. When you left at night, his car was there. So that right there, to me, gives you the drive to want to work for somebody like that. And that's, I guess, why I worked there for 27 years. But he loved kids, and we always had a company picnic every year. And and you couldn't say Bob without saying Betty. And Betty was just part of our lives as well. He, at the company picnic, it didn't matter if it was an infant or 18 years old, every kid, every child that was at that picnic left there with a gift. They treated me and my family like family. So every time Bob would come up to the office, he would always ask about my wife. How's little Kath going?
Well, at a really young age, and this is how involved we were in the family business, he was visiting us in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We were sitting around the dinner table, and he had asked my brothers and I if we had plans to come in the family business. And I probably at that time could have been, 9, 10, 11 years old, young. And the fact that he cared that much, he was asking us that because I think he had the opportunity to sell the business. And it was more important to him to see the generations come in, and if we cared about it, then he wanted to keep that because we cared about it. So, a question, like that, and what grandfather, truly looks at their grandchildren and says, hey, are you interested in this business someday, at an early age? And he did that. And it wasn't because for financial reasons or anything other than that. It was just the fact that he was passionate for it, and he wanted to make sure that we were passionate for it.
He was extremely special. You don't find people like that nowadays.
He was a guy who would walk in a room and he would light up the room. And I'm not saying that just because he was my grandfather, but he was truly something special. And anybody that was around him, that knew him, was a friend of his, was a business associate. He was truly one of those that has continued to be talked about this day of somebody truly special. And a big heart, a very good businessman, and the best of all for me and my brothers and my sister is he was a tremendous grandfather.
Bear with me in my little speech. It was mostly what I said already, but I'm going to go ahead and go forward. So, many people tonight are asking, well, you have green on for St. Patrick's Day. And myself and some of the family are wearing green tonight, not for St. Patrick's Day, but because it was my dad's favorite color. We call it Mattingly green. Thank you, though, for including my dad in this really special celebration. After serving in the Army, my dad worked 2 jobs. One is the manager of the casino restaurant, which is now called the Old Market House Inn. The other was during the day at Mattingly Fish Market, which eventually became Mattingly Foods. After high school, I completed 2 years of nursing, in which several of my patients that I had taken care of died from their illnesses. My father said to me, as you heard, "You've watched people die, so come to work for me and watch people thrive." At that time, women were either teachers, nurses, or secretaries. I knew that I wanted to be with people, work with people. So he suggested that I become a salesperson for the company. It might sound funny for Generation X, the Millennials, and Generation Z, but there were no women actually calling on clients. So that was the wonderful beginning of a very close relationship with my dad. It was very intimidating working in a business that was mostly male, but with his encouragement and mentoring, I was able to help grow the business. Bob Evans is one of my many accounts. For all that time, my dad was so busy building Mattingly Foods that we did not get to spend a lot of fun times. He did the opposite with his grandchildren. He played with them, taught them to swim, taught them to tell time, tie their shoes, and work with them on their studies. He also attended many of their school functions. Dad loved taking them to Mattingly Foods after church on Sunday. And as my son said, they would have so much fun playing in the warehouse, hide and seek, riding their bicycles, and eventually getting in the trucks and driving them around the lot. He was such an influence to us all. He seldom spoke negative about anyone and always seemed to find the positive in each situation. Dad was very involved in the community, Rotary, Muskingum County Foundation, JC's, Chamber of Commerce, St. Thomas Church and School, and many others. Because of his influence, his grandchildren have followed in his footsteps. In 1994, he had a cardiac arrest in Las Vegas while attending a meeting, but he lived. The doctor said he would never come home, but he did. He lived 14 years. His speech, his ability to read, his business mind, and even his great smile were all taken away from him. But through it all, he was still mentoring us with his determination and kindness. He got up every day, excited to sit in the cash and carry. He couldn't talk very well, so he handed out chocolate-covered mints like what is on your table. He looked forward to Joe Tyson taking him every week to Rotary. He shook hands and he did his best to smile. He still was able to attend many of his granddaughter's grade and high school functions and cheer her on in his own way. His favorite saying that he taught us was, no matter how bad the day was, every day is a good day. Today is a great day. Thank you for honoring my father.
Next, we present Irv Bell, born December 6, 1945 in Zanesville to Arthur and Grace, and has two sisters, Jenny, deceased, and Betty. He attended Zanesville High School, graduated in 1963, then on to Ohio State University, where he graduated in 1967. In 1968, Irv married his wife Jean and had two sons, Matthew and Jason. He began working for the OSU Extension, and shortly thereafter, he served in the U.S. Navy until 1972. Upon his return, Irv resumed his work at the OSU Extension as an educator in both Pickaway and Jackson counties before returning to Zanesville in 1974 to take over the family farm from his father and uncle. Irv is currently the owner-operator of Bell Farms Ag, LLC, with his son Matthew and wife Melissa. Irv has devoted decades of years and hours of his time and resources in service to the agriculture community. He has served on boards, commissions, and organizations at county, state, and national levels, including serving as president of the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation. Bell Farms has been awarded numerous state and national awards for excellence. Irv played a role in the planning and development of the nationwide Ohio Farm Bureau Federation 4-H Youth Center on the campus of The Ohio State University. A loving, devoted, and honest man, Irv prides himself on the legacy he has created for his family as farmers and community leaders. Irv's son Jason, wife Sarah, and the 7 grandchildren between his two sons are a big part of his life.
My relationship with Irv is just, he's kind of like Uncle Irv. I don't know if he would approve of that, but I've known Irv all my adult life, but even as I was younger, he had a relationship with my family, and just have grown up with Irv and Jean both. And it's been a wonderful experience, and to watch us all grow, and to watch Irv grow as he's gone through, and also to watch my growth also.
One of my favorite memories is showing at the Ohio State Fair with my family, my father. Another favorite memory is our 3 years that we spent, or 3+ years that we spent in San Diego while Irv was in the Navy. I'm sure that he will not consider that one of his favorite memories, but for 2 farm kids from Ohio, I had not really been out of the state. To be in California for 3 years, it was pretty exciting, at least for me anyway.
I'm Tessa, and I liked it when he would push us on the tire swing at their house.
Papa's really funny in my opinion. Like, he always says funny stuff whenever we see him.
My grandfather, he's a great man, kind, patient, always willing to help someone learn, always willing to teach and explain, make sure you understand. It's a pretty big thing, I think.
Irv, my father, obviously he's a very giving person, not only to his family, but he's always been very giving in the local community and the agriculture community, and local agriculture community, the Ohio ag community, and nationally he's always been a great volunteer and a great advocate for agriculture, and not only that, but he's afforded all of us a great opportunity. He's always very supportive.
Irv is he's a wonderful man. He is he's the kind of guy that just takes up the room. He comes in and he always has a story to tell. Always wants to share something that has happened in his family history or his work history. He's very loving, he's very kind, and he has always just been such a great grandfather to my kids. He loves them, he always checks in on them, wants to know how they're doing. He's just a really great person.
I would say, I hope I'm using this right, eccentric. Like, he's a character. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, when his personality just like lights up a room, like it's not like anyone else's. It's just, he's so uniquely himself.
Definitely hardworking for sure. And definitely, generous, certainly.
I love how Papa always asks how we are. Like, the first thing he asks whenever we see him is how we're doing in school and everything. And I like how he always checks in on us.
Hi, my name is Riley Bell, and I'm Irv's granddaughter. I'm sorry that I wasn't there with my family the other day, but I just wanted the opportunity to say how proud I am of Grandpa Irv and how grateful I am to be his granddaughter.
Oh yeah, I remember growing up, they always talked about Ohio State football and football tickets and 4-H, and he was always there. I remember one time when I was younger, he took me to get my steer's feet trimmed at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I just thought that was the greatest thing. I wasn't very old because we didn't have a stock trailer or anything. So he was always doing stuff out of the goodness of his heart. So the thing that I think that's important that a lot of people don't realize is the impact that he has had on agriculture and the leadership and what he's done to promote the industry, not only here in the county and what he's built on his family farm, but across the state, and advocating for the industry and being a pillar, and to be chosen to be on the Nationwide Insurance Board of Directors, to me is an accomplishment. Not everyone gets to do something like that. So he doesn't talk about his accolades very much, but he's well thought of, and he's done a lot in his life.
He's one of those guys, he's in the room, but he's one of the smartest guys in the room. And I try to take some of what characteristics that he does, and that's to listen, He's one of those gentlemen that goes inside of a meeting or a room and just, he listens to what other people are saying. He doesn't so much say or interject a lot, but I think that gives him the ability to learn and then to think before he speaks. And I think that that's something that's very important, and I know that that's been a characteristic that I've tried to do in my life.
When I was in high school, we were jackhammering out a concrete floor, and it was Friday, and it was like probably one of the first things I'd ever done there. And it was 3 or 3:30, and he comes rolling in with a jackhammer on Friday afternoon, and I thought, well, I don't know what I got myself into here, but we've got a big job, and I suppose I'll be coming back tomorrow. And I thought, yeah, he doesn't mess around. I would say that there was a genuine understanding that you want to do well and do something all the time, and we used to always joke that you smell with your eyes. Being a hog farm, it was important to Irv to keep things clean, and that's why when I was in high school I spent a lot of time mowing grass and weed eating the fence lines and cleaning up trash, because he wants to portray the image of himself, which is highly respected.
Something you do when you're 77 that you didn't do when you were 57. When you come up the stairs, you grab the rail. I know and Tom, as good as you were, I wish you'd gone for 30 minutes. And I just told Barb as I walked by, I know I can't top that. And I know the grandkids especially are nervous when Tom said that it was 30 minutes. But Barb, I used your dad's mint notes to make a few notes, so you guys are saved. This is it. It's certainly an honor for me to be recognized here this evening. Along with I thank the organization for my selection. The good that they do has been expressed here tonight is certainly very meaningful for this community, not just Muskingum County, but surrounding counties as well. I'm certainly honored to be a part of the class, of which I'm honored, of which I'm a member. And it was even more gratifying to see the pictures out in the foyer as we came in, and to just look and see what an elite group this is, and to be selected to be a part of it is certainly very humbling for me, and very much an honor. Fatherhood, and Tom, you got teared up later. I got teared up sitting out there, so I'll probably lose it again. But I couldn't help but think, as I was trying to think what I was going to say today before I found these big notepads, and I was thinking of my own dad, who passed away 48 years ago. And my dad was a humble, honorable man. And as I look at family and friends that are sitting here with us tonight and helping us celebrate this event, I couldn't help but mention this. And my dad would, he was ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time. All the discussion today about pronouns. My dad was a pronoun guy way back when I was a little guy. I learned from him that we say we, not I. So whatever's happened here tonight is us. From him, I learned to say us and not me. So it's about us. And I also learned from him that it's ours and not mine. So thank you again for the recognition, for the honor. And if there's any inspiration here from any of us that can be positive for the community, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Our next honoree is Michael Zemba. Born January 8, 1913 in Paynesville, Ohio, the seventh of 8 children to Andrew and Anna Zemba. He attended Holy Family Grade School in Cleveland, graduated the 8th grade in June of 1927 with honors. Michael attended St. Benedict's High School and served as an altar boy at church. Michael left Cleveland at age 20 after his mother's passing and came to Zanesville, where he went to work at Camp McIntyre of the 3C Camp and there became a company clerk. On August 25, 1937, Michael married Isabel Murphy, and between 1937 and 1943, he became a family man, having 2 sons, Michael William and Lawrence Joseph. After becoming employed at the American Rolling Mills Company, ARMCO, he had to leave not only a job, but his family to deploy in the U.S. Navy, where he served aboard the battleship USS Colorado and participated in all the important engagements of the South Pacific. In December 1945, Michael was discharged from the military and went back to Zanesville to resume his job at ARMCO. In 1948, a 3rd child, Paul Andrew, was born, and a daughter, Barbara Catherine, in 1953. In August 1972, after beginning his career at ARMCO, Michael was able to advance to the management post of traffic manager. His 8th grade motto was "Build for character, not for fame." Michael was truly a role model to everyone he came in contact with.
He's compassionate, he's very caring and loving for his country. He was into service and for his church, everything. He was very compassionate. He loved him, and he showed that love to everybody.
With his sons and his grandsons.
Yes.
His work ethic has been passed along, and that was a great thing about Mike.
Yes.
Calm. So calm. Just seemed like nothing rattled him.
You know, I'd never heard him raise his voice, unless he was calling one of the boys.
Yeah, I mean, he's very
quiet and very reserved.
very humble, very courageous, but he could be stern. We grew up farm life, very simple, and he was a teaching person. He prepared you. He would let you know what was expected out of you, and he held that to you. You know, it was a case that, I guess, humble, caring, courageous. And, you know, as I look at those people that have gone before him in this organization, a lot of times, things in their life is what made them who they were. In the case of my father, he lost his mother at 19. I would say that humbles you greatly.
What ignited this fire through Dad years ago, and what my brothers and I have been able to do humbly, and what we've been able to create, is just those core values of who he was. The most favorite times were just sitting on the back porch with him, just talking about life.
Grandpa was a man of very little words. I mean, he was one of those guys that I've never, in all my life, I never heard anyone say a bad or a negative word about Grandpa. He had a sense of pride, he really did, and as long as you didn't harm his family or people close to him, you'd never have a problem with him, so he's a good dude.
Mike was an easy guy to get to know. I don't think he ever had an enemy, or he always was willing to talk, tell stories.
Never missed one of my football games, always at whatever event there was for any of the grandkids. But just a very special person in my life, and to the point where, you know, he's been gone 23 years, and if there's a decision to make in life, I just think about what he would do, and the answer's there. He was just a great example. So he didn't really have to say it. You kind of paid attention to how he lived, and that was the advice right there. Maybe didn't appreciate it when he was alive so much, but now that I'm older, again, I still think of the examples he set, and if there's a question in life, you just think, what would Grandpa do? And that's what you do.
He just had a way of knowing he wasn't going to be here when we got into our 30s and 40s and 50s, but he was already setting us up. Like he was already planting the seeds of, you know, relax, hear it out. Don't listen to respond. Listen to help. He was never in business for himself. But he knew more about it. Still today, I'm still, at 54 years old, I'm still learning things from conversations with him. And I mean general things that just go into life, not just business, but very simple things like being courteous. Being kind doesn't cost anything. Holding the door for somebody, you know, just if you see somebody needs help and your hands are free, get after it. So this is way back. I'm probably, gosh, you guys are gonna have to erase this footage. So I'm in the kitchen, and him and Grandma's alive at the time, and they're over playing cards with Mom and Dad. And this was just that time in your life when you're mentally you're not there, but physically you're going from a boy to a man. And I went over and to kiss him goodnight, him and Grandma goodnight, and he reaches up on my chin and he goes, "Is that a hair on your chin?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I got a couple." And he tells me he wants to look under my arms, you know. I mean, it was just funny now looking back. And I said, "Yeah, I've been working out, you know." He says, "You think you're strong?" I said, "Oh yeah, I think I'm strong." We grew up in a house that we were constantly under construction. We were always redoing something. And there was drywall on the wall, that was it. And it wasn't painted, it wasn't, so we were allowed to draw on it and all kind of stuff. He excuses himself from the table and he gets up and he walks over and he puts a mark, he kind of looks at me and he puts a mark on the wall. And he says, "Strong, huh?" "Yeah." He goes over and he picks my arm up. He goes, "Hold your arm on that mark." I said, what are we doing? So I'm like, what's this have to do? Just hold it there. He just goes back over and sits down. Deal them. So they get back to playing progressive rummy. And about 2 minutes later, he looks over and he goes, "Sagging there a little bit." I said, "On the line." All right. So I get a little more. A couple minutes later, he looks over and finally, I couldn't do it anymore. And he turns around and he stops. He lays his cards down. He winks at Grandma. I knew something was coming. And you know, you're young, you're a little smart aleck, you know. He goes, "Strong, huh?" Can't even hold your hand up there. He said, "But it's not about how strong you are physically. It's how strong you are up here." He said, "What you got to work on, Stephen," is what he called me. He said, "The worst thing you did was quit."
He was about as real as they come, that's for sure. He's about as real as they come, and kept it simple. He didn't make it hard. He kept it real simple, and that's how he helped raise us, you know, of course, with my mom and dad. But that's, again, everyone sees these trucks going up and down the road, and they see what they see, and all that's because of the way Grandpa and Dad raised us, Mom and Dad raised us.
So for me, I'm blessed to have my father and my grandfather that taught those lessons. And yeah, raising 4 children, there was many times I asked, you know, what would my grandfather do in this situation, like in any situation, and I hope my children have learned from that.
The day my mother died, we were headed out to pick out a casket. And halfway out the sidewalk, he stopped, he looked up at me, and he said, "Paulie, I just lost my wife of 50 years and 2 months, and you just lost your mother. This is the courage." He said, "You be strong for me. I'll be strong for you. We're going to get through this together."
So I can tell you exactly how long it'll take. It's 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Because I've done this about 100 times in my office, but I'm sure I'll screw it up. So, first and foremost, our family would like to congratulate all the other recipients who are being honored here tonight. Mr. Bell, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Holdren, and Mr. Mattingly and his family. This is a wonderful class of men, and I'm sure my granddad would be proud to be honored with them. One lesson my grandfather taught was to surround yourself with good people. 23 years after his passing, he has certainly done that tonight with this group of men that he is being inducted with into the Forever Dads Legacy of Fatherhood. Our family would also like to thank all the Legacy Fatherhood recipients that have come before and have paved the way. Some I'd like to mention, very close personal friends of mine. Coach Whit Parks, Coach Fred Matthews, Coach Ron Apperson, Leo Burkhart, Ron Busey, and Bill Joseph, to name a few. We would especially like to thank Forever Dads for the work that they do and for honoring our family's patriarch, as I see him, with this wonderful award. When you see the work that Forever Dads does firsthand, it is amazing, and that the lives they change. For myself, it's an honor to serve on the board. As far as my grandfather, father, husband, grandfather, great-grandfather, family man, World War II veteran, and friend, that was Mike Zimba. He was tough, but gentle, firm, but understanding. You know, when Ben and I were sitting in the same meeting and they asked, "Ben, your grandfather, Chris, your grandfather," you know, it wasn't an easy decision. I remember, we didn't accept right away. Reason being, knowing the way that Mike Zimba was, I know he's looking down right now and he's not happy. He's not. He's not happy with us because he was way too humble of a person and of a man to stand up here and accept an award. To accept an award for what was expected anyway. To accept an award for what he expected of himself, it's just the way he was. The way he lived his life was simply his standard. He was a very simple, hardworking man. But don't let that fool you. This man spoke 5 languages. He would see any of his accomplishments as how it should be done. Nothing special. It's just how you do it. No award needed. My grandmother Isabel passed away in 1987. I was 13 years old. And probably as in most families, when that happens, Grandpa became more of our lives. He didn't have a wife at home anymore, so he just became part of our family, more than he already was. He was alone. At that time, my parents owned a small furniture business. And I was 13 years old, so it really wasn't an option. But most of my evenings were spent delivering furniture with my dad and my granddad. I'd watch my dad work all day. This wasn't his job. He would work all day long. And he would come home, and we'd load our old box truck that we hoped to made it to the furniture delivery. We would travel to the location, wherever we were going that night. We talked about back in those days, my dad drove, my granddad sat here, and I sat on a wooden stool between them, and I wonder why I have a bad back now. It's, we would drive to Columbus, and I would try to sleep sitting on a wooden stool and then drive back. So how it would go is Dad and I would carry the furniture in, and Grandpa would sit in the truck. And if my family knows what this means, he'd probably step out and water the lilies, is what he would call it, which means go to the bathroom. And he would just sit in the truck and wait patiently. And Dad and I would finish up with the customer, and I had my job. I folded the blankets in the trailer, and I would just sit in the truck with Grandpa. And if anybody knows my dad, I sat there for a couple of hours with Grandpa. So, and you know, we would just simply talk. You know, we don't do enough of that today, but we would just simply talk to each other. And, you know, Scott had mentioned in his video, sometimes he didn't know the rest of the story sometimes. So, looking back, I realized that those talks in that furniture truck was where I learned the most important lessons of my life. And it was just because of what he shared with me. I was 13 years old. It was a special, precious time, and I didn't realize it. I was a teenager, and I didn't appreciate that until some years later. Spending that time with him, I learned that after 4 years of fighting for our country and being away from his wife and first 2 children, he worked 3 jobs. He worked 3 jobs, and he'd come home and work the farm as well. This is what he had to do to catch up on his bills. They didn't wait on you to pay your bills. They didn't give you money because you were off work. You know, he had to catch up on those bills. That was his job. He had 6 months to do that. He worked 3 jobs to pay his bills he had accumulated during the war. This lesson I thought about years later. It's such a lesson on work ethic. Be willing to do what others are not willing to do to provide for the ones you love. Nobody owes you anything. I learned that after coming home from job number 3 of the day, he would take his shoes off so my grandmother had something to put on her feet. There was a time in their life when he was paying those bills, they shared one pair of shoes. So when I go home, I'll admit it, spoiled. I got 5 pairs of tennis shoes and 3 pairs of boots, and you know what I mean? And I think what he went through and how easy I have it. Taught me how to sacrifice. Taught me to try not to complain, no matter how bad it is. No matter how bad it gets, somebody somewhere has it much worse than I do. I remember another story about him being aboard ship, and it was Thanksgiving. And he was chosen to be part of a team to go in the bottom of the ship and carry turkeys to the deck. He goes in the freezer with the rest of the team, turkeys to the left, the deceased members of the ship on the right. Never thought a thing about it. You know, they carried the turkeys up, and they had Thanksgiving dinner. Taught me how good I have it. That with the right frame of mind and attitude, most can endure a lot more than they think they can. There was a story about my grandfather being lost at sea for 3 days with 2 other men. And I remember him telling this story. So 3 days floating. And he remembers the ship in the horizon. And they're trying to get the ship to come to them. But I remember that statement of not knowing if that was an enemy ship or an American ship. And you didn't know what you were about to go through. Just what he went through during that time alone. And many, many stories of friends lost in battle. Life taken away right beside him, but yet he was required to continue to fight. Taught me to never give up. In 1929, as a teenager, his mother passed away. His father looked at him and all his siblings and said, "You're on your own." At that moment, he had an older brother, Steve. Steve said, "Guys, we're on our own. I need a minute." I just talked to my uncle about the story a couple weeks ago. Steve walked down to the corner store, never came back. My grandpa was a young man at the time. Never did know what happened to his brother. Kind of a neat ending of this story is he was aboard the USS Colorado, and he was on his way to the South Pacific, and they stopped in Hawaii. My grandfather gets off the ship, makes friends with some locals, and one guy says, "Hey, I know a Zimba. Lives right here in Hawaii. His name is Zeke Zimba." "Oh, introduce me to him." It was his brother he hadn't seen for years. He would talk about being aboard the Colorado, and Grandpa couldn't hear very well the older he got. And he would talk about standing beside the 16-inch guns. And when they all fired at the same time, the ship would move sideways 18 feet in the water. And as a kid, I just thought, wow, that amazed me. Many, many stories, I could go on forever, that made him who he was,
which allowed him to pass along what he was made of. And this is his legacy. It's very hard to explain the influence he had on our family and others, not because of what he said, but more so because of how he lived. In my eyes, he was the best. He was and still is that constant life compass of where to go and how to get there. I continually try to follow that compass, and when preparing for this night, I asked myself what he would want me to say. He would say, "That's enough about him." He would want me to mention these people. First and foremost, his wife of 50 years, Isabel Murphy. His 5 brothers, Paul, Andrew, John, Steve, and Joe. His 2 sisters, Rosie and Nettie. His son, my dad, Paul. Another son, Larry. A son, Bill, who is no longer with us. And his only daughter, Kathy. Along with many other family members who have been so blessed by him. This man truly lived up to his 8th grade motto, build for character, not for fame. I believe if he could be here today, standing next to me, he would tell us to thank God for each and every breath we take, to keep on keeping on. He would tell us to never back down. He would tell us to be true to ourselves and what we know is right. He would also tell us to go fishing as often as possible. He would tell us to keep the garden weeded and keep it tilled between the rows. He'd tell us to feed the birds. He would tell us to plant a tree every chance we had. He'd probably ask us to go metal detecting with him because we might find a nickel. He would tell us to forgive and forget. And he would tell us the most valuable thing you can give your loved ones is your time. Our family truly appreciates you honoring Mike Zimba tonight. It is our family's honor to accept this award on behalf of such a great man. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, our final nominee, James McDonald, is the 8th child of Frank and Ruth McDonald and is a lifelong resident of Zanesville. He married his wife, Lisa, on Valentine's Day, 1987, and they have 2 children, Sarah and Michael, and 1 grandson, Jordan. 2017 saw the induction of James, a Zanesville High School alumni, into the Hall of Fame. He graduated from Muskingum University with a bachelor's degree and Ohio University with a master's. Muskingum University honored him with a Doctor of Humane Letters degree on December 9, 2022. James is the president and CEO of All Well Behavioral Health Services, where he has been employed for 50 years. All Well's mission is to help people feel better, think more clearly, make good decisions, and have healthy relationships. James was the administrator of Hollowed Hills Campground for 23 years. Tourists from around the United States would come to Zanesville through events hosted at Hollowed Hills. ForeverDads, whose mission is to strengthen and celebrate fatherhood, was founded by James. The inaugural of Muskingum County Dads Count was held on June 14, 2001, with a $20,000 grant from the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood. Currently, James is the chairman of the board of directors of Zane State College and Genesis Healthcare Systems. His most recent initiative is called Enterprise Community, which is a cradle-to-career workforce development project with parity in education, employment, and health outcomes where a child's potential isn't indicated by their neighborhood, zip code, or circumstance.
So we are here to honor Dr. James Arthur McDonald, and I say doctor because James Arthur recently delivered the commencement address at Muskingum University. James is so humble, I imagine most folk in Zanesville don't know he received that recognition for his service to his community. He didn't even tell his siblings until the event was over.
He cares deeply about family. He enjoys really strong bonds with his siblings. In fact, since moving away from Zanesville, I personally have lived in various places. James has always found the time to visit. He's traveled to various of my family functions, including a wedding in Alabama, a vacation trip to visit me and my wife in Colorado.
Yeah, the thing I'd say about James, first of all, is that he is a people person. God made him. He was born to be a people person. He relates to people. I would say that, you know how a dictionary has a definition and then the picture of that definition, so you have a word and a definition. If there were a dictionary for phrases, there would be a phrase like, never knew a stranger. And James's picture would be right there, because everybody he meets, he's a friend to, and he shows that his disposition just reaches out to you.
I've come to know James as a man of very deep faith, very compassionate, a true caring heart, and someone of deep wisdom. And he shares that with all who he comes into contact with.
He wants to do the right thing by people.
He grew up in an environment that schooled him and developed him well. I'm sure that he has said many times that mom and dad were the best parents you could have, and dad always wanted his kids to do well. And so everybody, you've heard us say, went to college, and James actually went to the same college that Dad graduated from. He initially did. That's one of his schools. There was a funny story that I like to say. I think James told me, and I think this is accurate. Michael, if I'm not mistaken, James will correct me, but Michael was going out for basketball. I'm speaking to how kind he is and how gentle and giving to other people. And James was telling me that Michael and his opponent were going after a rebound, and Michael would say, "Excuse me, you can have it first."
I would have to say there are several things when I think of him, and particularly his role as father these past years. I would say probably his love for God, first of all. It's always been first and foremost in his life.
Well, I think he epitomizes all of the characteristics of a father, but he's had to do so much out in our community. So the same characteristics of a father have been what has been so driven in his life in the community and made so many of us just adore him.
One thing about James is he's genuine. He loves everybody, gets along well with everyone. What stands out to me is he's very energetic, one of those individuals that if something needs to get done, it can get done. He'll see that it gets done.
He has a lot of integrity. I think what you see with him is like what you get, no matter if like that's our father-daughter relationship or at work and in his different leadership roles. He's just the same person in all of those spaces. He's a great dad and a great husband.
I can say that in all the places I've been and all the things that I've done, I've never been more impressed by anybody than I have by my dad. Been working with heads of state, ambassadors, presidents, kings. I've never met a wiser man than my dad.
One thing my dad does is with other people who I've brought around, or even with my son, like he'll say like, "Sarah, do you know what I love about Jordan? Do you know what I love about your mom? Do you know what I love about you?" Everything. And I feel like that's what I love about him, is everything. So it's hard to talk about because, I mean, I can't do him justice, you know?
He inspires people. He steps up to whatever challenge he faces, and those around him often end up making him their go-to guy. As many of you may know, another quality of James is his great sense of humor. He's really a funny guy.
And he's funny too. He has a sense of humor that one wonders where he got that crazy idea from, but he makes you laugh out loud.
Jimmy James, is 3.5 years older than me, and I really believe that the reason I'm nuts today is because of Jimmy James.
Yeah, I love being with my dad with live music. I got him tickets to Hamilton for Christmas, which he did not know what it was. But that was like on my bucket list to do with him, because just seeing him like appreciate live music and art is something that I love to do with him.
So he played the trumpet, correct? Does he still play the trumpet? Does he still like to do that?
I think he still does at church, yeah.
James was in charge of watching me in terms of walking to school, Madison School, and he would have to make sure I got to school and home okay. And I remember there was an intersection where we had to cross every day, and I was afraid of the cars. I had fear of the cars moving back and forth across the street. So I would wait. I would infuriate James. I would wait until there were no cars, and then I'd cross the street. I wouldn't do that with the regular patrol people, but I did it with James. He never got frustrated with me about that.
So I think that he has role modeled this for our children as well, because Sarah and her husband Nick, our daughter Sarah, has for the last several years been a foster mom, and so they have together foster parented several children, and they have come through their loving home, and they have provided a lot of consistency, a lot of support, a lot of nurturing, and things that might not have been there in their lives before, and waiting for that time when their own home is a little stronger and they can send them back to their own family. So it to me, has been a direct result of James's community-mindedness and the example that he has set in our home.
James is real sensitive to other people. It's all about other people. It's not about James, it's about other people.
What's up? Give you a little cultural orientation. When someone says hello, you say hello. Somebody says good morning, you say good morning. In our church, the apostolic churches, some of them are here today, when they say praise the Lord, we say, when someone says what's up, it's really a two-pronged response. The first is just the next is just a hey. So I'm gonna practice that. What's up? Thank you. There you go. The reason I nominated myself for this award is because I had been the MC for 10 years. And I thought it's time for a change. Change is coming. And I knew that the only way that they would let me out of this job if I were one of the honorees. So the Honorable Burl Lemon and the committee, I thank you for putting my name in the hat, and let's give a hand for Aaron Bounds, who's taking my place. I certainly was touched, deeply touched, by the comments of my family and friends. And I want you all to know that some of those things are true. Had a great family life with my mom and dad, and the brothers didn't tell you, they spared you this story. We did have 5 boys and 5 girls, and I was one of the youngest ones, so I was one of 3 in the bed. And if I may say this, Lisa, without embarrassing you, I was a bedwetter. And the boys hated that because you'd wet the bed in the middle of the night and everybody had to get up. Mom would come in, change the sheets, and that was that. Had a great family life, didn't we? Just an awesome home. And Tom, I taught my children to ride a bicycle. Taught them to ride a bike. I went to Walmart, one place, and then I went to the mall, and I got each one of them a bicycle. And but before I could teach them to ride, I had to be in shape. I had to be in condition because, you know, you'd run with them and try to get them to balance them on a bike. So it was winter time, and so I had to work out. So I put on my jacket and I just did my routine. I'd go run a few miles and come home. Well, this one particular day, it was just cold. Cold, and so I went and I started running. I said, man, my face is cold and everything was just freezing. I went to spit. I know, and it froze. I'm picking icicles off my face, and I went home and it was -2 degrees. But I want you all to know just the sacrifice that we make to give you opportunities in this life. And all of us do those kinds of things just to give our kids a chance in life. And so I got the bikes, and then we're running, you know. I take them out to Dillon Park. Well, I think it's Dillon Park. You probably don't remember. Dillon Park. And I'm running with them, you know. And then you let them go a little bit, and they start to waver, and you have to run and catch them and steady them. And then eventually, they are riding on their own. And it's such a proud and sense of accomplishment for both of you when they are going riding on their own. And it's not so unlike parenting over a lifetime. When your children are first born, you do everything for them. Everything. And then they learn to do some things on their own to get a little independent, but they're not really mature yet or experienced, so you have to do a course correction. How many of you dads know about course corrections? And then they finally become autonomous and ride on their own and become sufficient and work on their own. Self-directed, self-sufficient. Sarah and Michael, I don't know if you know how thankful your mother and I are for the meaningful way that you live your lives. Truly makes us thankful and proud as your parents. But I made a mistake as a father. When I was teaching my children to ride their bicycles, I failed to teach them how to brake. You know, you drive and then you push back on the thing in those days and it would stop the bike. And if you didn't know how to brake, the only way you could stop is you would crash, which I did, or you would you won't be able to stop. And my children don't know how to brake. They can't stop. My daughter, after graduating, did her student teaching in South Africa. She could have gone to Tri-Valley. No, she takes a plane to South Africa, does her student teaching. And she comes back and she teaches, and she has taught a different course every year. This year, she's teaching science. She became the worship leader at her church, and she and her husband, Nick, are now foster parents, and they have fostered 11 children. Their house is a zoo. 11 children, and now they have 3 children that she couldn't find a sitter for him today, driving from Cleveland, so they're at a friend of ours' house, but they are fostering children and giving them a great life. But they just can't stop. They don't know how to brake. Yeah. My son Michael is, as you saw in the video, is in Special Forces. He has been on every continent in this on this globe, except for Antarctica, everywhere around the world, keeping our country and this world safe and peaceful and honoring the government and blessing people. So thankful for you, Mike. He called me a few months ago and said, Dad, I think I just want to dabble in real estate. So we came here and I introduced him to the people I know who are in real estate. You know, Kessler and Dunsweiler and Hardcastle. We went to their offices. Remember that? And sat down at their offices, and Hardcastle told us, you know, everything you buy, make sure you look at it, make sure you stay close to it, so you have to manage your properties. So I called him the other day. I said, Mike, how you doing with the properties? He said, well, I bought some in Carolina, and I bought some in Texas and Tacoma. I said, well, what are they like? He said, I don't know, I haven't seen them. But they're multi-million-dollar complexes that because he just can't brake. They don't know how to put on the brakes. So all help, when you get home, kids, I'm going to teach you how to put on the brakes and slow down a little bit, which I haven't learned to do either. So I wasn't that great a teacher, but my wife, Lisa, is an excellent teacher. She teaches, she's a professor at Zane State College, and she taught me how to raise my children in the 21st century. I love you for that. If it weren't for me, Michael would still be wearing bell bottoms. Sarah would only wear dresses. And you taught me that there's a distinction between righteousness and tradition. And I was teaching doctrine as a tradition. I thank you for that. You've helped me. You've taught us about recycling. You've taught us about healthy nutrition. You've decorated many of our homes. Love you. You've made a great man out of me, and I thank you. Give a hand for my wife, please. But I did teach my children one thing. Teach them one thing, Bishop Gators. I taught them to pay tithes. I was an overseer of Hollow Hills Campground. It was about a 70-acre property, and we'd host events. And one time, a training came by, and it was a vendor selling vending machines. And he said that Wrigley became a millionaire selling 1 penny at a time, little gumball things. So I bought 20 of them. And I brought them home, and that's one of them right there. I brought them home, and I said, children, we're going to learn some business sense. So we took those, we didn't take the machines, I took the plan, to put them in the car, and we went to visit people. Dorothy Montgomery's here. We went to see Dorothy Montgomery to see if we could put these vending machines in the county offices. We went to Bruce Evans at Genesis, then Bethesda, put them in their businesses. Went around the whole community, put these in their businesses. And they made a pitch. I went to one business and tried to sell it on myself, and they said, no, get out of here. And all the others, my children, they accepted my kids' pitch because they were only 7 to 9. So they put these around, then we go get them. My children I didn't know this, my children just told me this. They would rather have gone to JDC than to walk with me with these benches. But we collect all the money, we got all the money, and we bring it back, and then I taught them how to mark the money. When you maybe a full one of those gave us $75.50. So I said, you write 75.50. And then for tithe, you pay 10%. You give 10% to the church. So you move that decimal point, 1 point to the left, and that's your tithes, always. You just need and so they did that, and they took $7.50 to church, and they put it in a plate. And the deacons were mad. You know how long it takes to count $7.50 of quarters? I tell these stories tonight for the benefit of the fathers who are part of Forever Dads. There are about 50 of you here tonight. And these are men some of whom are on parole, some of whom have child support arrearages, some of whom are addicted, some are single fathers. And that's why we're here. And I tell these stories to give you a sense of hope that one day you can stand here. You can be right here. There are 5 things that I would share to you that I tried to illustrate in these stories. Fatherhood is not rocket science, but these 5 things, if you practice, will make you a legacy dad. First is, be healthy. Take care of yourself, physically, spiritually, mentally, financially. Take care of yourself. I run and wipe the spit off my face. But take care of yourself. Make good decisions. Make good decisions. You know right from wrong. There can be no happiness when what you do is different than what you believe. Follow what you know to do is right. Secondly, teach your children stuff. I taught my children how to ride a bicycle. Teach them stuff. You can do some things. Teach them. Education matters. Give them opportunities in the community. I gave them gumball machines. But give them a chance to relate to other people and interact with other people and volunteer, whether that's in sports or whatever environment you find yourself passionate about. Give them opportunities, not for you, for them. Fourthly, co-parent well. Co-parent well. Lisa and I were the strongest parents in this community. I know that because I live with her and she made me a good man. And I learned this, men get this right. Acknowledge that she is always right. Say amen, sisters. That saves you a bunch of sleepless nights. The 5th thing is give. Give. Taught them to pay tithe. Give. Be generous. Share what you have with others. Give. Give. Doesn't belong to you, it belongs to God. He gives it to you. Give through him to other people. You do that and you can be a great legacy father. And if you're fortunate, you will have grandchildren to pass this legacy down through. I am so fortunate to have my grandson here tonight, Jordan Alexander. Stand up, Jordan. Jordan and I did a road trip the other day. We drove to Wisconsin, didn't we? Drove all the way about 10 miles, going and back, coming and back. I went to one of his games, these pitches. I went to his game. He's 14 years old, went to the game last summer. He struck out 14 people. Yeah. That's Cy Young stuff. But what makes me most proud tonight is that Jordan has 2 fathers, 2 dads. He's got his biological father, Stephen Settle. He's got his second father, the husband of my daughter Sarah, Nick. And both of those men are sitting at my table. Couldn't be prouder or more thankful, because that's not easy. It takes a willingness to accommodate, a maturity, a mutual love for your child, a willingness to bite your tongue. It's work, but it's worth it because your child gets the love and support of 2 fathers. Honor you both for being here tonight. Thank you, Steve and Nick. And thank you all for this honor tonight. I thank the board of directors and I honor the 4 families that were selected tonight to be part of this class. We're forever linked. Because of that, I congratulate all of you. I shout out to Kim Dent, who has supported this program for many years. A shout out to Burl Lemon, who has taken this program just leaps and bounds over what I could have ever done. Give a hand to Burl Lemon. I love you, man. And finally, I would say this to you, Jordan. I too have two dads. One is your great-grandfather, Frank B. McDonald. The other is your Heavenly Father and mine, our fathers. And both of them have been such an inspiration to me that I don't have enough time to express what they mean to me, these fathers in my life. So I'm not going to try to say it. I'm going to do a musical tribute to them. In my devotion this morning, I read Psalm 50, and one phrase in that psalm says, praise him on the trumpet. Praise him on the trumpet. And I thought, well, what if you don't have a trumpet? Well, he said, get one. So I did. I bought a trumpet, and I'm going to honor Frank McDonald, my mother, Ruth McDonald, and my God, with a song that was written by Robert Gay, More Than Enough, More Than Enough. How many know for you God is more than enough? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
James, won't you stand here with me for a moment? Wasn't that amazing? I think, wow, so amazing. When you were up here, you know, I insulted the entire congregation when I started tonight. I told them they were worth less than $5.
Oh, okay.
And y'all heard me say it. I think something about sulfur and iron. And but I was thinking something while you were there. And I'm so moved by what you did. Every single family tonight has impacted me tonight. I just want to say I've been very nervous for this evening because I have to follow this guy. And also the deep respect I have for this community. I have seen you all in 19 years of being in this area, and you can tell by my accent I'm not from here. It's not Kentucky. It's West Virginia. And
is that a state?
Get out of here. What's up? I will say though, while he would come here, stay with me.
I'm sorry.
Years ago, let me say this, and we're going to honor some distinguished guests in here in a moment. It's getting ready to be a video that plays. But I have never been with James McDonald, and every dad represented here tonight has what you're talking about. That he has said, how's your kids? How's your wife? Genuinely cares and loves, and you see that love of God in you, and I appreciate that. But I looked up something, and you know, when a person donates their body to save a life, it's minimally worth $550,000. Because when you give yourself to make a difference, it brings value. And there's that verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. And I know here tonight that our community is impacted. And I want to say to every board member, to every person in this room, you're making a difference in this community with what you're doing, not just here tonight, but year after year. Would you appreciate everybody that's here tonight? There's a video right now on why I support Forever Dads. If you turn your attention to the screen and right now.
I'm Scott Zimba with the Zimba Companies. We are proud sponsors of the One Dad at a Time campaign. Our sponsorship of One Dad at a Time supports fathers and families. You're going to hear from some dads that's going to tell their story. Join us as we continue to make a difference in One Dad at a Time. Now you'll hear from Judge Joseph as he explains why he supports Forever Dads.
Good evening. Even though this is my favorite event of the year, Becky and I are not physically here this evening, but we are at this very moment live streaming this entire event while on vacation in Key Largo, Florida. First of all, I'd like to congratulate this evening's honorees, all of whom, and their families, all of who are deserving of the recognition they're receiving tonight. I know for many of you, this event is your only real experience with the Forever Dads organization. But as nice as this event is, it's only a tiny, tiny part of what Forever Dads does for us in our community. As our municipal court judge for over 20 years, I had thousands of defendants appear before me with criminal charges. And make no mistake, some of those people were nasty type individuals. But so many more were really good, decent people who made a mistake, made a poor decision, had a temporary lack of judgment that led them to court. Many times this can be traced back to being reared in a family with very little parental guidance. Often this meant a home without a father, or if the father was present, he was making those same poor decisions. Many times now, the men in my court were fathers themselves, and they just lacked the knowledge and experience to be good parents, to have good parental guidance for their children. Unfortunately for me as a judge and for you as a community, I had the Forever Dads organization that I could refer some of these people to for the many services that they provide to help men understand the duties and responsibilities of fatherhood and to give them the skills to be a good father. This not only improves the life of that individual father, but more importantly, the lives of his children. and their children after that and for generations to come. And when Forever Dads is able to do that for many families, it makes our community much stronger as a community. And so this is the real work and the importance of having the Forever Dads organization present in our community. Now I'd like to have you watch a video to see the impact, positive impact that Forever Dads has had on an individual man and his family.
Due to some trouble that one of our kids got into, it was actually recommended through the juvenile court that we participate in. One of the programs that they offer here is like a family counseling. I finished it with my daughters, and it wasn't so much that I needed to learn how to parent, but I polished some of my skills. I learned a kind of different approaches. So, and my daughters responded to it. So for me, I wanted to, I spoke to Evan to see if there were any other programs they offered here, and he suggested the NFL class. So I did that, completed that.
Did a lot of reading and talking. Just basically that was pretty much it. Just went to class. Tried to take all the in I could from other fathers that were having similar problems, and just try to take something away from the class that would help me get through my days and the troubles I was having with my son at the time. It was nice to talk to other fathers, how they dealt with it, what they did to pass time and to deal with that part of not having your kids around. Just ways to cope every day to get through it. Legal matters, what we can do legally and through the court system to try to help with that.
Learning a few different techniques, because I'm me and my personality, I'm constantly learning. I'm 44 years old, but I try to learn every day. And it's how I run my business. It's how I've been with my kids. It's how I help other people. It's just part of who I am. So I'm never done growing as a person. So for me, it was about not only trying to polish my skills as a parent, but about sharing with the other people, other parents that struggle, because my situation is not normal. Most men aren't involved with their kids as much as I am, and if they are, they aren't involved with daughters the way that I am. But Forever Dads has been really, really good for me, not in just what it teaches you, but allowing me to help other people by sharing my experiences and kind of passing off what I've been through. And also, it's also good for other people to know that they aren't alone in their struggle, and that they're, just when they think that their situation's bad, there's always somebody else that has it worse. But I've always been able to overcome this stuff and learn from it. It's made me a better person, a better parent, a better man. So having the opportunity to share that with people that need it, because there's so many people out there. You can put something on social media, post something, but reaching out to somebody, having a face-to-face conversation. Even at the banquet, I spoke for a few minutes, just again sharing some things that I went through. And I think there were like 38 or 40 guys there, and probably half of them came up to me afterwards and wanted to talk again.
It really helped me understand not to give up, because there was a point where I was like, I'm just going to give up, because every time he was around, I don't want to say we would fight, but it just seemed like he wanted to make trouble, be with his friends more so than with his dad, and so it just gave me an outlet to keep holding on to something. They did. I was in the mentor program, and Burl got me with a really good fella, Don Yoder, and we're still friends. He still checks up on me. We actually go to his house and have dinner with his family and go out to dinner. So, and Burl, from time to time when he's not busy, he checks in. So yeah, they still make a connection and see how things are going. Yeah, there is a community, and it seems like everybody helps out here with each other. It made it nice. It was a place to go, even just to get away for a little bit, come maybe help mow the grass or paint or something, and then just talk with other guys and just get things off your mind.
Because as men, like I said, it's not in our DNA to be nurturers, to be, that influence. But I like to be different. For the dads that want better for their kids, they're still stuck in that stigma, that neutral of like, well, that's not really a masculine thing to do, or that's not really traditional. But like I told him, and it was explained to me, when everybody knows how lopsided my situation is, and it's not normal. But it's all I've ever known. And I don't look at it as I'm a dad and they're girls, or, I'm the man and they're kids. It's like, I love them and I just want them to be successful and happy. But for me, you know, it's been presented to me that, you know, I don't know why you carry this burden. It's not fair. You don't deserve it, neither do your kids, but I know that you won't quit, because if you do, your kids will have nobody. So learning to deal with some of this stuff that's not in our DNA as men, it's whether or not, I mean, how bad do you really want to help your kids? Because if they aren't getting these examples somewhere else, if you don't step up and do it, it's part of protecting them. It's part of, you know, taking care of them. If you don't do it, who will?
This evening, you had the opportunity to witness a picture of Forever Dads, who we are, who we serve, who has contributed to our organization, who is aligning with us to help make a difference in the landscapes of fathers and families in our community. It's been my privilege to serve as the executive director of Forever Dads over these number of years. I've watched the changes, not just for myself, for our organization, for our board leadership, but I've watched the changes in our building and in the landscape of where we serve there on Madison Street. But I've seen the lives of fathers change. This evening you have an opportunity to continue to make that change happen. So as you've listened to these men and you've heard the voices of others, as we brought honor and distinction to those in our community who have been dedicated to their families and committed to our community, I'm asking you to join with me in continuing this pledge of seeing that fathers will continue to be part of the lives of their children. Choose, if you would, to help us, that by June 2nd, 2026, we will have raised $1 million so that we are vested at the Muskingum County Community Foundation with $1 million. That's our goal, that we can make a difference in our community. You can be a part of it. Thank you very much.
We want to say tonight we have some amazing people that are with us. We would like all of the dads who are or have participated in any of the Forever Dads programs, services, or activities. Would you stand? Thank you. Thank you so much. We're so glad that you are here. Forever Dads is making a tremendous difference. We do have some distinguished guests here tonight that have sent proclamations, some of them that could not be here but wanted to recognize what we were doing. That is Keith Faber, Ohio Auditor of State, Senator Matt Huffman, President of the Ohio Senate, Senator Al Landis of the 31st Senatorial District in Ohio. And tonight we do have present with us the Muskingum County Commissioners, Cindy Cameron, who is President, Melissa Bell, and Molly Crooks. Would you welcome them at this time? And we would like them to stand, those that I've mentioned. I'm going to mention a few more here as well. We want to recognize our United States Congressman Troy Balderson. Ohio Representative Adam Holmes. Thank you. Mayor Don Mason. Sheriff Matt Lutz. Judge Cooper Ryder. And Mayor Jay Jackson of Byesville. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our vocalist for the evening, my daughter Lakin Bounds. She'll be accompanied by Dylan Woodward. Would you welcome them tonight, singing God Bless America? Why don't we all stand?
Stand beside her her through the night with the light from above.
From the mountains
to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. To the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with America, my home, sweet God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Remain standing at this time. At this time, we have our state representative, Adam Holmes, to come and pray the benediction.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you. Thank you for these points of light, these reflections of your example of a loving and caring Father who loves without question and always has our best interests in mind, who always ensures we're surrounded by those who serve your purpose, who stay with us in our most difficult times, and you never, ever leave. Thank you for the great fathers in our lives, the ones in our families who've been examples, the ones who are our friends and colleagues, the role models who build the foundation of our wonderful, strong community. Please help us use your example and those of the great fathers around us to become better fathers, better mothers, better people, and better able to follow your guidance to truly love one another. Amen.
This concludes this evening, and we want to do one more thing before everyone exits. And I do want to say thank you all for attending tonight. Hasn't been a great evening? We would like our honorees, if they could first exit, if you would give time for our honorees, these first few tables here, to go to the foyer so you can greet them and congratulate them on your way out. You would just give them a moment to get there before you leave. God bless you tonight.